So, Penny Dreadful Season 4 seems to be dividing audiences, to say the least. There are many that are upset because it's no longer the Victorian Gothic horror from seasons 1 through 3, and it feels more like it's trying to pander to race baiters or the virtue signalers and people that want their TV to be woke and progressive nowadays. And I understand where people are coming from. I'm not going to say that I'm like diehard or like all the way out there to say that this show is terrible. I think where I'm going to give this show a pass is this show feels more like a hard-boiled fiction rather than the supernatural gothic horror of seasons 1 through 3. And I think that people are just so inundated with race and wokeness nowadays that when a show actually does a decent job showing what it was like in the 1930s and 40s, people push back on it. Hi, my name is IDK Revy, and on my channel, I watch things so you don't have to. Today, I will be recapping episode 2 of Penny Dreadful City of Angels. Now, as I just said in the intro, there are people that are disappointed because we no longer get to follow Vanessa Ives and Ethan Chandler and Sir Malcolm and Frankenstein and John Clare and all the greats from Dorian Gray and The Bride of Frankenstein, all the people from the original Penny Dreadful. And so people don't see the correlation between seasons 1 through 3 and this one. And there really isn't. I don't think that there is, and I am willing to say that I'm okay with that because I enjoyed the first 2 seasons. The third one was crap, but I enjoyed the first 2 seasons, and it kind of just was a rush mess in season 3, and we never really got closure with the characters. I mean, they did, but it was just kind of like this uncharacteristic of the characters. And so you watch this new one, and as I said, it feels more like a hard-boiled fiction. It's a detective. It's like we're trying to solve this mystery. We see the racial divide between the Mexicans in Los Angeles and the white police officers and the segregation between the two, and I think it's fine. I don't think that it's woke. I think if it was truly woke, more people will be talking about it. And because it's not truly woke, nobody's really talking about it because it's not the lazy virtue signaling that we've come accustomed to seeing with like Watchmen or like Terminator, where they go out of their way to rib the audience and say, like, we know this is what you want to see, but nah, we're not going to give it to you. We're going to constantly rib you and make you feel bad for trying to escape, and you're racist and you're white and this ever. And then also it gives a blatant middle finger to the audience. That's when you know it's woke and it goes out of its way. This one doesn't really trip over itself too much. I mean, there are some scenes that some people would say, oh, it's anti-white, but it's the 1930s and 1940s. What do you think it was like in the 1930s and 40s? So now that I got that little bit of rant out of the way, episode 2, where do we begin? So we continue with Tiago and his partner investigating the case of Mr. Hazel, and really it starts off in the beginning where Tiago goes back to see his brother, and his brother's in the hospital. Obviously, we knew in episode 1 he shot his brother to stop his brother from killing his partner. So he's going to see his partner, and his family doesn't like him, obviously, because he picked the side with law enforcement, but he was trying to save his partner. Did the right thing, I guess, depending on how you look at it, the ethics of what he did. But it was he chose his job over his family. Anyway, so they're trying to continue to do more investigations with the disappearance and the weird rituals of the murder sprees that went on in the first episode. And so they're not really sold that it's the Mexicans that are killing people, but the people in the town believe that it is the Mexicans because obviously, you know, it's a lot of tension going on in the area. So the councilman who was trying to make this motorway uses the police's death actually to get the people fired up that we need to have this go through the town as a symbol that we are not going to back down and we're going to progress forward. So that's where the councilman is at. And we can see Marta, I believe that's her name. You're going to correct me. I believe the demon's name is Marta. We can see her in 3 different forms where she's the angel of chaos, and she's talking to the councilman and just pretty much speaking into his ear and getting him fired up to, enact laws to get this motorway. And I think her own purpose isn't so much that she really cares either way. She just wants to create chaos because chaos means more bodies and more souls, and seems to be the goddess or the demon of chaos. And so that's what's going on in that one. So we see Tiago, and then they go to this church, and when they go to the church, they meet Sister Molly, who's singing in the church, and Tiago and Sister Molly kind of have a little bit of a flirtatious thing going on. It's not so much over the top, but it's a little bit of back and forth, a little romance, little sparks firing up there. And she's pretty much, just telling them about how she grew up in the church. And she seems to be wanting somebody to kind of rescue her from her overbearing mother, who is pretty much controlling her and making her do certain things. And I think there might be a little supernatural with her, but that's just my thought so far. And then you got Tiago, he's getting kicked out, and he's still trying to find some type of closure. He doesn't believe in God. He even explained that in the episode. And so he doesn't have any faith. And so we're just watching. It's interesting. It's a hard-boiled fiction. And so when it's hard-boiled, you got to really it's a slow burn. And this is one of the few shows that I'm going to allow to have a slow burn. I wanted another show that's out on Apple, Defending Jacob. It's a slow burn, but it's a slow burn. And that one is just get to the point. Anyway, episode 2 ends with these Nazis. The police were following these Nazis. Nathan Lane and his character and like a couple other Jewish guys that make Jewish jokes. They were killed by these Nazis, and they were killed. And that's interesting because the Nazis are still prevalent in this story, which is weird. I think a lot of stuff is being thrown at you. So it's just being thrown at you. And it's really nothing like, oh man, I can kind of follow it. So you got these Nazis that are doing Nazi things. And then you got the councilman. And then you got the German fellow who's in the town. So you can just tell there's just evil, just stuff, just kind of like little nuggets just kind of being dabbled all around. So it's chaos being done. And that's why I think it's interesting. It finally ends with Tiago's mother praying to Santa Marta to bring her son back alive, and her son comes back alive. And that's how that episode ends. So I look forward to episode 3. I hope you are following me. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments section below. Like I said, I'm willing to give it a chance. I know it's not the Penny Dreadful from before, but it's okay. That one's over. If it was woke and if it was disrespectful to that one where it pretty much tried to do the same old Victorian Gothic horror over again and pretty much just slap you in the face with wokeness and try to just take those characters out of just ruin them, yes, I would be upset. This is a completely and totally different show, and I'm willing to stand, I get like the young kids say, for the show. That's my conclusion. I hope you're safe. Let me know in the comment section what you thought. If you're new to the channel, please consider liking and subscribing, and I will see you next week for episode 3.